Check 1, 2. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let me start out by saying the information I'm providing today is very preliminary information, and this investigation is still in its infant stages. First and foremost, our hearts go out to the victims and their families who are suffering today. We have two separate families whose lives will be forever changed. They've lost their mother, daughter, and so much more because of an absolutely senseless act of violence. Last night at approximately 7:10 p.m., our officers responded to an unknown problem in the 2000 block of North Cougar Way here in Meridian. The initial information our officers received is there was some kind of domestic dispute and someone may have been shot. Officers from the Meridian Police Department and the Ada County Sheriff's Office made entry into the residence and discovered two deceased females, 33-year-old Emily Works of Meridian and 41-year-old Sarah Walmsley of Boise, in separate locations of the house. Officers were able to quickly identify Clint Caleb Powers, 31 years of age, of Meridian, as a suspect. And during a search of the area, officers were notified of a carjacking which had just occurred in the area of Zircon Avenue and East Chateau Drive, just over a half-mile away from the original crime scene. An Ada County deputy located the stolen vehicle in the area of Eustick Road in Venable and attempted a traffic stop. Powers fled the vehicle on foot, and the deputy pursued Powers, who fired multiple rounds at the deputy, who thankfully was uninjured. Officers were able to quickly contain Powers in the 700 block of West Indian Rocks, where Powers committed suicide using a handgun in his possession. On behalf of the Meridian Police Department, I would like to thank the Ada County Sheriff's Office, the Boise Police Department, the Garden City Police Department, the Idaho State Police, and the Ada County Coroner's Office for their assistance in this investigation and their quick response last night in assisting our officers. And again, on behalf of the Meridian Police Department, I offer my condolences to the victims and everyone affected by this unthinkable crime. The last thing I will say is if you or anyone you know is involved in an abusive relationship, please reach out for help. Contact your local police department. And if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to law enforcement, then reach out to one of the many organizations designed to help victims of domestic violence, like the Women's and Children's Alliance and the Faces of Hope Victim Center. And with that, I'll answer what questions that I can. Yes.
The relationship in details between the suspect.
Yes. The suspect was in a relationship with one of the victims.
With one of the
Yes.
Were there any children in the house when the officers arrived?
There was no children in the house when officers arrived, but there was an 11-year-old child that was present during the shooting. That child was uninjured physically.
Do you know what the victim's relationship was with each other?
Friends. They were friends.
Which victim was in a relationship with the suspect?
We're not releasing that yet.
Can you spell the victims and the suspect's names?
I can. Oh, yeah, and they will have that in a press release that we'll give to you afterwards.
I know there were gunshots heard, so were the victims killed by gunshot wounds?
The Ada County coroners will be releasing the cause of death later today, and so we'll leave that up to them to make that determination for certain.
The location where the suspect took his life, Chief, was that his residence, or was that just by chance that he was at that spot when he took his life?
It was just by chance. He had fled from the deputy's attempted traffic stop, and officers were quickly in that area once shots, it was announced that shots were fired, And so they contained him in that area, and he chose to take his own life.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's an apartment complex, isn't that, where he took his life, was that in an apartment complex?
I can't speak to that exactly right now. It's a mix of apartments and single-family homes in that area.
In the pursuit, if you could take a second, to
Yes.
talk about the pursuit and the shots being fired at the officer, how fortunate, obviously, no one else was injured.
Absolutely, extremely fortunate. Why the suspect decided to flee from the vehicle rather than flee in the vehicle is obviously unknown to us. But the deputy is very, very fortunate to have not been hit by any rounds, as well as obviously anybody in that residential area.
How did the carjacking happen? Did he actually?
He actually threatened two people at gunpoint and took their keys. They were actually outside of their vehicle, but were threatened at gunpoint by him and made to give him over their keys.
And then they immediately called?
They immediately called 911, yes.
Got the car. So that's where you
Yep.
quick to pick up on the vehicle. Okay.
Can you confirm whether the victims were shot?
I can tell you that they did have gunshot wounds
Okay. And where was the 11-year-old child found?
at another location. He had fled the residence. Okay? No other questions?
Did the initial call, maybe I missed that, the initial call that came in on the domestic call, did that come from that household or another neighbor?
It did not. It came from a individual who had responded to that residence, a friend of one of the people living there, and they were made aware of what they believed was gunshots when they were there.
Okay, we don't know how long the suspect was at the residence before he committed the crime?
We do not have any idea about how long the suspect would have been there.
What time did the chase end, or what time did, die?
I can't tell you the exact time, and we don't pronounce that time of death, so we could give you a general idea later on when the pursuit ended. Okay. All right.
Done with
Yep.
questions.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here.
Yes. We're gonna be publishing this here shortly, and I'll get you guys a paper copy so you can get started with the additional
Sure, thank you.
names.